Yellow. How do you get over heartbreak? How do you get over that feeling of unworthiness, rejection, failure? To be attached to something, then to have it stripped from you. In Ben Askren's case, to be stripped of his undefeated status, once believing you could dominate everyone in the UFC, a part of your ego you built up, the portion of you that said you were worthy, all of a sudden, reality has stripped it from your fingertips. Your self-esteem is compromised. You all of a sudden have to deal with the reality that you might not be good enough. That's a very painful feeling. It's a dark place we've all been to one time or another. Perhaps not at the same level of what Ben Askren is experiencing right now, but through other forms of failure and rejection. One of the things that make a great fighter is the way they feel about themselves, their sense of belief and worthiness. It's very hard to feel motivated to enter your flow if you don't feel worthy of doing so. You end up stifled by your own thoughts. Your mind starts getting in the way, telling you, don't worry, just stay safe and comfortable in this dark hole. You don't need to take a risk. Self-preservation kicks in and keeps you from engaging the world before you. How do you get over this pain? How do you get over the pain of being stripped of an image you once clung to in order to feel worthy? The common phrase is time heals, but that's not exactly it. That's only part of the equation. Reflection heals, but reflection requires time. This is a big reason as to why so much of the population suffers from depression and anxiety. Our normal reaction to conflict is to shut ourselves out and reflect, but instead, we shut ourselves out, then stimulate ourselves to escape that process. We have an iPhone with memes and games right there. We can play Fortnite, League of Legends for hours as the dopamine rush. The immersion of all our mental faculties evoked through gaming can temporarily mitigate the pain we feel. It's way easier doing that than facing head-on the reasons for our own sense of unworthiness. Reflection is not easy, but it is mandatory for a healthy mind. When something bad happens, you have to set aside time to go over what has happened, why it happened, and how you'll move forward. You have to articulate the problem, perhaps write it out, find a way to let out all the emotions associated with that problem. Then, you have to reflect upon a viable way to move forward. A moving forward that makes sense to you, otherwise it will stay in the back of your mind. Pump cortisol, stress throughout your system and make you feel more neurotic up until you do. If you do not handle your demons, they will trap you in the past. This same mechanism. Reflection, it has helped our ancestors adapt to the ever-changing universe that survive. It is an integral reason as to why we animals are at the top of the food chain. After all, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable. Charles Darwin. What once gave us an edge over larger, stronger beasts, now, in our era of cheap stimulation, is being used against us. We are being destroyed by it. Versus the problems of today, you almost always get a second chance to flip the page, then start over, to try again. Failure, rejection, pain. It may have likely been a permanent state leading to one's grave in the past, but today, if you can see this message, it is but a speed bump on a vast open road. You have time. But to make the most of it is not to run away from your pain, it is to face it head-on, with reflection, to learn about the problem, to learn about yourself, then grow throughout that process. This is how you rekindle your spirit. Nothing was ever lacking. Instead, you have to let go of the emotional burden dimming your light. One of the reasons why we were so impressed by the way Ben Askren handled his loss is because he made no excuses. He expressed, confronting his devastating loss head-on, acknowledging what happened. That is very difficult to do, but we all intuitively know that that's exactly what he needs to do, what we need to do. Shying away from pain is a good way to let it fester, thus have you become neurotic. To reflect, acknowledging the painful emotion, the instances that comprised it, then finding a way to move forward that makes sense to you. That's how you properly heal your mind after it's endured conflict. It may sound so simple, but the simple truth has always been the hardest thing to do. Simplicity is always the most effective, but it is always the most difficult for that same reason. How hard is it to just meditate? To focus on your breath for 15 minutes? It's so simple, yet no one wants to consistently do it. The benefits experienced from controlling stress, anxiety, enhanced self-awareness, better attention span, better memory, improved emotional health. The list could go on from something so simple as meditation, but no one does it. A low kick, you can teach a low kick to anyone within a few minutes, but to perfect it, to attain the microfractures and bone density, to execute it without injury versus a real scenario, it takes years and years and then some. There is no easy way out. There is no magic solution to your problems. You attack the root the way nature intended, or you get crushed by the weight of your own mind. That is it. Reflection is simple, but it is very hard for that same reason. Understanding this, I encourage you to face what's haunting you, then nurture your spirit, rebuild your feelings of worthiness, because in truth, you already are enough. I feel that genuinely, moving through the fire of your own mind. It is the only way forward. To that end, may I leave you with I wish the best on your journey. If you like more from me, please subscribe and hit the notifications. Thank you if you did. It really does help the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. It's good karma. And until next time, peace.
Alright guys, as I'm here in beautiful Tulum, Mexico, it's been a good time for me, because sometimes when you have, for me, when I get a vacation time, especially here in Mexico, man, I get a chance to reflect.